Hello everybody, this is Aravind Mohan and welcome to the show. In today's video, it's more of a special episode where we will dedicatedly look at what is happening in and around Afghanistan after the exit of the final American soldier from Afghan soil. There are a lot of interesting events, a lot of developments happening across. There are 4 independent events, but when you look at the common thread, the common point of all of these events, that is when we will understand the bigger picture, and I will try to put this in precise, simple form for all of us to look at the situation. Alright, so let's look at it one by one. Around the same time, when US marked its final exit from Afghanistan, so that is few minutes before 31st August 2021, around the same time, India has headed the United Nations Security Council meeting to take a resolution on Taliban. The main points discussed in this United Nations Security Council is to give a de facto recognition to Taliban as a state actor in Afghanistan. But along with it, there are other major points discussed. First point is that Afghanistan should not become, or Afghan soil should not become a place where all the terrorism or terrorists are groomed. Second point, it should not become a threatening point for the neighboring nations in and around this. Third point that was discussed is that it should be made accessible for people of other neighboring nations. For example, Indians stranded in Afghanistan. It should also be made accessible to bring them back to the country. So overall, now it is more of a reality than what we discussed in the past. So now Taliban has taken control over Afghanistan, and this is the reality check, and we should see how we can adapt to the situation and at the same time be strong in our position. So this is with the United Nations Security Council. So what's happening in the United States after the last American soldier has returned back to the US? Joe Biden's government has released what they call as a 7-point plan to manage the current situation in Afghanistan. So what are they? We look at the key points. First thing is that the US embassy in Afghanistan at Kabul will be shut down. But however, they will operate and still continue to communicate with Afghanistan or the Taliban through the embassy at Doha at Qatar. Now, second point is that as per the agreement, the request has been made very clear to ensure that there is an access to the airport at Kabul, and any of the US citizens who are stranded in Afghanistan should be made possible to travel back to US. I know they already did a huge airlifting and a large-scale evacuation, but still number of US citizens still in Afghanistan should still be made accessible to get back to the home country. It does not stop with that. If any such member has taken a decision to stay in Afghanistan today, but later on, after a period of 3 months, 6 months or 1 year, if they make a decision to come back to the United States, still this should also be made possible. So this is the second point. The third point is that, similar to what was discussed again in the United Nations Security Council, Afghanistan in the leadership of Taliban, in the regime of Taliban, should not become a grooming space for terrorism in the world. This has been made very, very, very clear in the 7-point statement that is made by Joe Biden government. In fact, they've also mentioned that the anti-terrorist force will be very, very keen, watchful, monitor the situation and ensure that because Taliban has taken control of Afghanistan, it should not lead to more terrorism in the world. All right, we will keep what happened in the United States at one side. Let's come back to the view from India. Indian ambassador Deepak Mittal made his first official meeting with the Taliban counterpart. Now, what are the key points that were discussed? First thing is that India has clearly put forward his thoughts. They put a stand in front of Taliban very clear. First thing is, the Indians stranded in Afghanistan should be made possible to come back to the home country. It does not stop only with Indians stranded in Afghanistan, but also the minorities who are currently stuck up in Afghanistan, Hindus and Sikhs, and if they wish to come to India, this should also be made possible. In the next point, which is highly critical for national security, is that India has made a stand very clear and put its views straight in front of Taliban to say that Taliban should not support any of the terrorist activity which is against the nation, which is against India. Now, in the recent times, we know what is the threat we have from Pakistan on one side, China on the other side, and if Taliban comes in line with them, the threat that India will have on its international borders. But India made a stand very clear and put forward right in day one to Taliban to say that Taliban should not support to make Afghanistan as a grooming ground for any terrorist activity which is against India. The best part is that end of this meeting, the representative from Taliban, the leader from Taliban, has agreed to all the terms and said that it really needs the cordial relationship with India, and he has agreed to all the conditions that has come forward from Delhi. They have also given the assurance that there will be no terrorism activity supported by Taliban against India. This is a great start, and this really sets the national position in an international arena, what India has displayed. In all of these recent developments, there is one point that you would clearly see is that India now has a very, very important role to play in terms of national security of region around it. It is now growing as a very important stakeholder in international politics. No other nation can belittle India's position in this. Now we look at what is happening inside Afghanistan. We spoke a lot about Panjshir province and their resistance to Taliban. Now this has gone even more intense. Amrullah Saleh, the ex-first vice president of Afghanistan, in his statement after the exit of US soldiers, he has said that with the exit of US soldiers, it doesn't mean that people of Afghanistan have left. Still, people of Afghanistan are there in this country. And he has clearly mentioned that with majority of the people not in favor of Taliban regime have now joined together, and this protest, this resistance will continue. So in other words, he said that the fight that people of Afghanistan are now today ongoing against Taliban is not something that has a dependency with the United States. So this is the key message that we should understand. We'll try to look at the whole situation. Now, when you look at all of these incidents, United Nations Security Council comment, be it the 7-point plan that is released by Joe Biden government, or be it India's ambassador meet with the Taliban leader, all of them, there is one common point that everybody speaks about. First thing, inclusiveness that is needed in Afghanistan, and possibility of people to exit the country if they wish to. Second point that they speak about, which is very, very important, is that in this new regime of Taliban, Afghanistan should not become a grooming place for terrorist activity. It should not become a launch pad. This has been made very, very clear in all of these forums. All three distinctive forums happening at three different places at three different times, but everything talking about the same point, which means that whole world has just this one wish that this world should be a better place to live in and not to have any further terrorism. So what should be the stand of India in the current ongoing big change in Afghanistan with Taliban takeover? First thing that we all should understand in an international geopolitical sense is that there is no permanent friend or there is no permanent enemy, but there is a permanent interest. The bigger picture, the bigger vision. Now, when there is a permanent interest for both the regions, there is also a mutual interest. For India, the interest, for instance, is national security. The interest for Taliban could be the development of Afghanistan. Now, this is the right time where India has its clear focus to be watchful, to play a very vital role, to ensure that national security is not at threat, and this could be achieved with the right foreign relationship. Because India's interest in Afghanistan is different from the interest what Pakistan has in Afghanistan or what China has in Afghanistan. The interest that India has in Afghanistan is for national security. And this marks as a very, very important difference. And this is one reason why India stands high in the ambition of international peace. All right, so these are the main developments of what is happening in and around. In reality, Taliban has taken over Afghanistan. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'll again meet you in another show in another topic. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.